Hello, everybody. My name is Dino, and welcome to a kind of an experimental video. This is a talk show for Cinematic Studios. And on this talk show slash podcast type of thing, I'll be doing different topics relating to either the server or Survivor in general, or different things that I feel like should be talked about. So the first thing that I'm going to be talking about today, since a lot of people don't really know a whole lot about it, is kind of how Cinematic Studios came to be. Now, originally, actually, believe it or not, I wasn't the original host of Cinematic Studios. It started back in October 2020, from a guy that I know, and some of the people who've been long around here a long time know, named Dog. So I met Donald Dog a few months earlier in a server called a Hamster Survivor, and we both hit it off because we both like movies and obviously both like Survivor, and so we quickly became people who would talk to each other quite a bit. And so he came to me in October of 2020 and mentioned that he wanted to start a long term. Now, at this point in time, Cinematic Studios wasn't a org. It was a Roblox long term on like on where basically every week or sometimes twice a week the server would have a session on Roblox on a game that Dino Dog and I created. Well, mainly Dino Dog. He was responsible for a lot of the game related stuff, whereas I was more responsible for casting and twists, which is a role I carry over all the way to today now. Um, anyways, so this is essentially how the server started off. We began a season basically with no experience at all between me, Dino Dog, and the third production member, Hot Dog. And so, like, we had no idea we really had no idea what we were doing, but we made it work because what ended up making it work is the fact that by that point we were all quite well known in the community somewhat. And so between my friends and Dino Dog's friends, we were able to get enough members. I think it was like 50 members within one day of like 50 people within one day of the server opening, which was pretty cool and all that. This would continue on for quite a bit there until we ended up getting enough players for our first season. And the way the first season actually happened was kind of coincidental because when Dynadog first approached me with the idea to do a long term, he didn't have the name and he didn't really have the idea of having the seasons themed after movies. But he still wanted to do Wild West for his very first season, before it even became that we would be doing every single season as a like movie genre or whatever. Um, so backing up a bit, the naming of the server. So often you see servers that are named after the host. So like I said, Hamster Survivors, where I met a Dino Dog, and that was named after the host, Hamster. And then of course you got like these old long terms like Icebreaker and some newer like orgs that I know like Pandaviver or like Domviver, A&D, Alex and Dies Survivor, etc., etc. But what Dynadog wanted to do, and what I agree with, is we wanted to make the server not about us. We wanted it to be a name that had nothing to do with us in general, because we wanted it to be interesting. And so, well, uh, I actually came up with the idea of the name Cinematic Studios and the idea to make every season based off of movies. Because of our shared love of movies, I just felt like it was a good idea at the time. Um, so anyways, this was kind of our norm where Dog would be responsible for the building and finding like basically hosting the sessions, and as co-host, I was responsible for coming up with the twists, which I always find lots of fun, and coming up with the casting and all that stuff there. Um, as we continued on, though, I think it's by our third season that Dino Dog decided that he no longer wanted to host by the end of it because of just how I think he was getting bored with the idea of hosting, which I mean that's fair enough. It's not easy enough for everybody. Um, but yeah, anyways, we eventually decided to at the end of that season that he would step down from from owning the server and that I would take over for season 4. And season 4, that was a struggle for me. Because I didn't really have a whole lot of help that season. I had Yesno, who was a huge help with building the map, but I was still figuring out how to host things by myself for the most part. But I think it ended up working pretty well that season. And that season really, I think, was my first season that made me a host. Like even like how to made me know how to host, and that was something that was very helpful for me as we continued on. Um, Season 5 came along, and that was kind of a rough patch for me. At that point, I was kind of getting frustrated with the whole hosting thing, and I was wanting to quit at that point. However, I don't remember who it was that made me want to continue on, but I guess I felt like I owed it to the like alumni to do an All Stars and a second chance season, and so I decided to go ahead with that. We actually ended up canceling a newbie season. I think it was espionage or something like that. Which I mean, I never really put any of my all my eggs in that basket because I wasn't clear on that season, but I wanted to do another newbie season before All Stars. Anyways, and so All Stars to me at that point felt like the perfect conclusion to that era, and at the point to Cinematic Studios because it was a great cast and it was a quite a strong season in general. And so at that point, I decided I just didn't want to continue and I wanted to focus on like my education and other things. And so for about 4 or 5 months in 2023, there was no Cinematic Studios. There was just, well, the server existed still, but there was nothing going on in it. Um, but I think I can't quite remember what got me back into wanting to host more. But I think had something to do with when hmm, I think when A&D I think when A&D came back from its hiatus, I saw that and I was like, oh, hosting seems kind of fun. So I figured I would give a try of hosting an org as an experiment. I decided to switch from an org to an org from a Roblox long term basically came down to my school schedule. I no longer had the time between school and work to sit down for 2 hours a day, like at certain times of the week to like build the competitions and like host directly on my computer at home. Whereas if I had an org that gave me a lot more freedom to like do challenges over the phone, for example, and that was that was part of the reasoning. But it also allowed me to try new things with the twists. And I think if I decide to do more of these, I'll do another video going over how I do twists. Um, so the decision to switch over to orgs, like I was saying, is quite like is good. It was good. It was good for my schedule and also for just everything in general. And I think it wouldn't have been nearly as successful again if it wasn't for the community and friends reaching out to me after I started it and being like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." And so basically, what I'm trying to say with this whole thing is that Cinematic Studios wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for the good community that we have. Like, that's one of the main reasons why I want to continue doing this and why I feel like I will keep doing this until season 10. It's because of everybody around me. And so, yeah, that's basically how Cinematic Studios came to be and where it's at right now. If you guys did enjoy this, let me know in the server or wherever. I'm going to be making this, like I said, I'm going to be uploaded on YouTube channel. If you feel like subscribing, go for it. If not, whatever. Um, but yeah, that's basically it for this first episode. It's kind of short, but I didn't really have a huge plan. This is mainly just me talking off the top of my head about basically the formation of the server and where it came from. So yeah, anyways, thanks for watching, guys, or listening, I guess, because there's nothing really to watch. I'm gonna have to work on making more visuals for this. Anyways, see you guys later. Bye.